Joyce to the world, all the boys and girls. Joyce to the fishes in the deep blue sea. Joyce to you and me, breakfast with Bob.
Pacho Man! How about a round of applause for Mr. Pacho Man? Who we are at Breakfast with Bob, presented by EAS Sports Nutrition, Cliff Bar, Timex, Roca, Tanya Porter Resort, Rudy Project, and we are on slowtwitch.com. Our next guest, I think she's had every position here, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. There's one left for the lovely Rachel Joyce. How the heck are you? We need a first here.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
Thank you so much for joining us. So talk a little bit about, when I looked at last year's race and the way it played out, I'm like, this is Rachel's year, right? What were you thinking during that run? Because, I mean, Rinny was, 14:30 back off the bike, and I know you've had that experience of her coming by way too many times, but this year last year seemed different.
No, I think coming off the bike, I felt like I'd really put myself in a great position to go for the win, and that's how I felt when I started running coming out of T2. And, you know, sometimes Ironman's a cruel game, and you can do all the preparation, but come race day, some things just don't click. And, you know, I came third, which is great, but it was not what I wanted. And I just didn't, you know, simple as I just didn't put the run together that I needed to kind of finish that day off.
When I look at your, like, the run splits are usually 3:06, 3:07, right in there. And it's always been, hey, sub 3 or at 3, Rachel Joyce wins this race. How's your running training been going this year?
Yeah, my runs, like, I think every year, like when I started Ironman, run was my weakness, and I'd be that person coming off the bike thinking, okay,
where's everybody?
Yes, waiting for them to come by. But, you know, every year I've got stronger and stronger, and actually see my run like as a potential weapon, the way that I do in training. And I had great run training last year, and this year it's like built on that again. It was interrupted in May. I had an injury, but I think I put so much solid run training down at the beginning of the year that it came back very quickly when I started running again after my injury in May. So I feel really happy with how the prep has gone for this weekend.
So talk a little bit about working with Julie Divens as your coach and what she's brought to the table for you.
Do you know, after last year, I felt a lot of frustration after the race, and, you know, it took a little while to kind of put that to bed and then start looking forward. And I think sometimes when you have a goal and sometimes you just need a change, and you need something that's going to kind of get you excited, it's going to get you motivated. And Julie was the right person for that, because I knew that she was excited about, you know, trying to get me, you know, for the same goal that I had. So it's been really good working with her, and you know, we've been friends before she was my coach, and she really understands kind of what motivates me, and, you know, some of the things that make me tick. So that's really helped in the preparation coming into
when you look back, it's really been 10 years since you ran your 3:03 marathon at London. Right?
Yes.
It's been a 10-year sort of a whirlwind where you back then you weren't thinking, oh, I'm going to make a living as a professional triathlete. You were a lawyer.
Absolutely, yeah. Like 10 years ago today, like, I would never believe that I would be here and this would actually be a career. You know, it was a hobby back in 2005.
When you decided to make that move from being an attorney to being a professional triathlete, how risky was that, and how scary was that? Because mom and dad are here, and I'm sure mom and dad are like, our daughter, the lawyer, this is great. Then she's like, yeah, not so fast. I think I'm going to go run in the heat for a while.
Yeah, no, I think there was, you know, being a lawyer, it's a very, you know, there's a very clear career path.
Yes.
You get paid every month, and
401k, you get all that type of stuff, benefits.
And you know, the scariest thing about making the move from being a lawyer to trying to make a go of being a professional triathlete was, you feel very vulnerable, because, you know, you're exposing what your dream is. You know, my dream is to be a successful professional triathlete, and by resigning from my job as a lawyer, it was very open and very public, and so that meant it would be very visible if I didn't succeed, and that's part
Scary.
of the risk. That was more of a risk than the financial risk in some ways, because it's hard to put your dream out there so that people can see what you're actually going for.
And then when you told the folks at the law firm that you were leaving, what was their response?
They were 100% behind me, and even today I get emails from the people I work from, and when I go back to London and go see them, they're so excited about following what I'm doing, and
That's cool.
they were really supportive in those first few years, and they sponsored me each year, so I feel like I've got a bit of a fan base back in the office.
Was there one race where you sort of convinced yourself that you could make it? Because there's always a period of time where you're going, okay, I'll do this for a while. What was a race that made you realize I could be really, really good at this?
I think it was probably my first Ironman Florida in 2008, and I'd kind of gone into that race saying, I'd arranged to go back to work after that because I'd had a pretty unsuccessful 2 years trying to race professionally before that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do an Ironman. I'm going to enjoy the process. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. I'm just, I just want to tick off the Ironman. I want to be an Ironman.
So you weren't thinking that was your distance or anything. You were just going to go do it once
go
and
do it,
bucket list and get out.
Yeah, and then I needed to go back to work and earn some money because I didn't have any. And I did that.
Where were
race.
Mom and Dad? They should have been funding that.
They were very supportive. And so I went into that, and I think that I almost had a change of mindset, and I kind of removed some of the pressure that I'd put on myself. Right. And I came fifth in that race, and it wasn't anything out of this world, but I knew I hadn't had the perfect preparation, but it gave me enough of a carrot to say, okay, you can go back to work, save some more money, and then in 2009, I'd missed out on the Kona slot by one place, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go to Kona in 2009, and that became kind of my motivation heading into
And
that
in 2009, you get sixth here in Kona, at the where everybody's at, right? This is the big...
that was a big turning point.
Yeah.
And I still put that race as, one of the highlights of my career, because it was then that I thought, okay, I can actually play with the big girls on the island, and I hadn't really pitched myself against the best of the best until Kona 2009.
And then your progress, you go fifth in 2010, and then fourth in 2011, and going right along. Mm-hmm. So, in terms of sponsorship, as you were showing how consistent you would be, did more and more sponsorship come your way?
I was a little naive in 2009, and I thought, I've come sixth in Kona, everyone's going to be knocking on the door.
Of course, yes.
It was a little bit quiet, to be honest.
You're like, hello, I was sixth. Where's my salary? What's going on?
Exactly. But then I was contacted by Faris Al Sultan, and I joined his team, the Abu Dhabi Tri team. Yeah. And I owe a lot to Faris and that whole support crew, because, I had like a sponsor for everything. And not only that, I was going on training camps with people like Faris who had so much experience in the sport, and I learned so much from just spending 4 weeks in the middle of the desert with these people. So I spent 2 years with the team, and then I decided I wanted to go solo and try and build up relationships with sponsors personally, and that was another bit of a risk, because I was kind of turning down a whole portfolio of sponsors. But I made the move out to Boulder, and I've been really lucky to have some really great sponsors who I feel like I've got a great rapport with personally as well.
When you were in Coca-Cola,
and
when you have an international brand like that says a lot about the sport and a lot about where the sport stands right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the more we can see these, global brands coming into triathlon, it can only be a good thing for the sport, because I love triathlon and I want to see it grow. And I think the more we can kind of, bring in sponsors that anyone on the street can recognize, that's just going to be a good thing.
So talk a little bit about, this has been a big issue this last couple of years, has been 50 women that come, and we have 50 men pros who are allowed to come, who qualify, right, to get here, and 35 women.
Yes.
And a number of us feel that that's, in this day and age, with a sport that's been built on, strong women, that's a little silly. And I know your hat,
Yes.
it goes along with that. Talk a little bit about that.
I think there are so many reasons I think we should have even numbers of pro women and men racing in Kona. First of all, I think it's equality, and that's just the right thing to do. And I think you can get caught up in arguments about how deep the men's field is versus the women's field, but I would always argue that the women's field has just it's gone from strength to strength in the last few years. But regardless, I think you need to have equality. We want to grow the sport. At the moment there are far more men participating in the sport as age groupers than women, and there's a great opportunity. From a business point of view, we want more women in the sport.
Of course.
And I think if you lead by example in the professional field, it tells women, it sends out the message that this is a sport for men and for women equally, so come on, give it a go.
I love that. Talk a little bit about Mirinda Carfrae is a 2-time defending champion, best runner in the sport. She's running 250 when the other gals are running, 302 to 306. What's it going to take for someone to knock her off?
Rinny's a phenomenal athlete, and I think she's won 3 times, not 2.
No, 2 in a row. Yeah,
2 in a row.
Yeah,
yes,
she won 3.
yeah.
Yep.
And her, it's no secret, her run is just incredible.
Off the charts. Yeah.
So, I think we the other women have to run faster, but.
Yes, we do. Yes.
And I think there are I think I'm one of those women, but I think there are other women out there who are capable of running quicker than we have done in previous years. We just need to do it on the right day. But I think it's about holding your head and putting together a strong swim, bike, run, and
It was interesting. Craig Alexander won 2 in a row in 08-09, and then actually Chris McCormick sat here and did an interview with us talking about, okay, we need to beat Craig, and the way we need to beat Craig, and he looked at the camera and says, Ferris, Norman, Marino, we have to attack him on the bike. Yeah. And we have to work together to get rid of him and put him 8-10 minutes back, because then he's not going to catch us, and that's exactly what happened.
Yes, yeah.
Have the women had some conversations going, okay, we've got to figure out how to make sure that we're 15 minutes ahead, so then it becomes a race between us?
No, there haven't been any conversations like that, but I think...
You can start it now? You can look at the camera?
Yeah.
Hey, so Caroline, Daniela, come on now.
But I think we all know, it's no secret we do have to...
put the hammer down on the bike.
You can't just sit in on the bike and wait for someone to make the move. It takes everyone working together on the bike to make, to really use that as a way to get a bit of a buffer. But again, I think this is another year in Kona, and there are some new faces in the race, and I think again that will change the dynamic, because you're going to have some strong bikers coming through. They maybe aren't, Angela, she's not going to be out in the front on the swim, but we can expect to see her making moves
Heather
through
Jackson
the field.
rides well
Heather
too.
Jackson, and so I always am aware that there's the Rinny factor, but I'm never going to ignore all these new people and old faces, because I think there are a number of threats out there. So,
can you be friends with someone like Mirinda after you guys have raced so many times? Can you leave that behind? Be friends training, and then on race day, do your thing? I
think it is possible to separate. What happens out there on the race day. I mean, we're not hanging out in August during the Kona build. You want to keep playing
March
your cards.
Might be okay, but
play your cards close to your chest. But no, I think we're able to separate. We're fierce competitors when we're out there on the course.
Right.
But there's a lot of respect between all the women out there, and we know what we put ourselves through to get to get through this race. And so, you know, when we're all going to give it everything out there on the course, but we're still friends afterwards.
Love it. What would you be happy with this year, knowing that your training has gone well? What is your goal for this year?
You know, I want to. I think it's important to always think about the process. So when I'm looking at my race, I'm not thinking about positions. I just want to I want to like represent what I think I can do and leave it all out there on the course. And we'll see. You know, obviously, I want that to put me on the top step.
Exactly.
But I don't want. You know, if someone has a better race on the day and I've done everything I can, I'm always going to judge myself by the effort and everything that I do out there.
Love it.
So, yeah.
Our world's fastest lawyer right here. How about a round of applause for Rachel Joyce? Again, we are presented by EAS Sports Nutrition, Cliff Bar, Timex, Roca, Tanyapura Resort, Rudy Project, Slow Twitch, and Mr. Poncho Man.
Joyce to the world, all the boys and girls. Joyce to the fishes in the deep blue sea. Joyce to you and me. Breakfast with Bob. Oh
Yeah, round of applause, Poncho Man, Rachel Joyce.
Yay, Joyce.
Joyce to the world.
I like that.